Janis Joplin was more than just a singer. She was a force of nature who redefined rock and blues music during the 1960s. Known for her raw, powerful voice and electrifying stage presence, Joplin became a symbol of the counterculture movement and a trailblazer for women in rock. Her music was as unapologetic as her personality, resonating deeply with audiences and earning her a place among the most iconic figures in music history. Born in the conservative town of Port Arthur, Texas, Joplin defied societal norms from an early age. She was drawn to the music of blues legends like Bessie Smith and Lead Belly, influences that shaped her unique sound and set her apart from her contemporaries. With her fearless approach to music and life, Joplin quickly rose to fame as the lead singer of Big Brother and the Holding Company before launching a groundbreaking solo career. Songs like Piece of My Heart, Cry Baby, and Me and Bobby McGee showcase her incredible vocal range and emotional depth, earning her critical acclaim and a devoted following. However, her journey to stardom was not without its struggles. Behind her larger-than-life persona was a woman grappling with insecurities, substance abuse, and the pressures of fame. Despite her untimely death at the age of 27, Janis Joplin's impact on music and culture remains profound. She broke barriers for female artists, challenged conventional norms, and poured her soul into every performance. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the life and legacy of Janis Joplin, exploring her early years, rise to fame, musical milestones, and lasting influence on generations of artists. Janis Lynn Joplin was born on January 19, 1943, in the industrial town of Port Arthur, Texas. Raised in a middle-class family, she was the eldest of 3 children, born to Dorothy and Seth Joplin. Her father worked as an engineer at Texaco, and her mother was a registrar at a business college. The family valued education and hard work, but Janis' unconventional spirit set her apart from a young age. Janis grew up in a conservative, blue-collar environment where societal expectations for women were strict and limiting. From an early age, she struggled to fit into the mold of the ideal girl. While her peers were focused on traditional paths, Janis was drawn to art, poetry, and especially music. She developed a love for blues and folk music inspired by artists like Bessie Smith, Lead Belly, and Odetta. These musicians' raw emotional expression resonated with her, sparking a lifelong passion for the blues. In high school, Janis' nonconformity made her a target for bullying. She was teased for her unconventional appearance and outspoken personality, experiences that left her feeling isolated and insecure. Her refuge was music, which gave her a way to channel her emotions and connect with something greater than herself. After graduating from high school, Janis enrolled at Lamar State College of Technology, now Lamar University, in Beaumont, Texas, and later the University of Texas at Austin. However, she struggled to find her place in academia. It was during her time in Austin that she began performing at local clubs and coffeehouses, gaining attention for her unique voice and fearless stage presence. Her early performances were heavily influenced by her blues idols. She often covered songs by Bessie Smith and Big Mama Thornton, channeling their emotional intensity and raw vocal power. These performances marked the beginning of her journey as an artist and set her apart as a bold, uncompromising talent. By the early 1960s, Janis had grown restless in Texas. She was drawn to the burgeoning counterculture movement on the West Coast, where artists, musicians, and free thinkers were redefining societal norms. In 1963, she hitchhiked to San Francisco, where she immersed herself in the city's vibrant music scene. San Francisco offered Janis the freedom to explore her identity and artistry. She performed in clubs and coffeehouses, gradually developing her signature style, a blend of blues, folk, and rock that was as dynamic as it was heartfelt. Her powerful voice and emotional intensity began to attract a following, though she also struggled with the darker side of the counterculture movement, including substance abuse. Janis returned to Texas briefly in 1965 to escape the pressures of the San Francisco scene. During this period, she attempted to live a more conventional life and even enrolled back in college. However, the pull of music was too strong to ignore. Encouraged by friends and fellow musicians, she returned to California in 1966, determined to pursue a career in music. This decision marked a turning point in Janis Joplin's life. Shortly after her return, she was introduced to Big Brother and the Holding Company, a psychedelic rock band based in San Francisco. The meeting would set the stage for her rise to fame and solidify her place in the counterculture movement of the 1960s. Janis Joplin's early life was defined by a search for identity, connection, and artistic expression. Her experiences growing up in a conservative environment, coupled with her love for blues and folk music, shaped the artist she would become. These formative years laid the groundwork for a career that would break barriers and inspire countless artists, cementing her legacy as a musical trailblazer. Janis Joplin's rise to fame began in earnest when she returned to San Francisco in 1966. At the time, the city was the epicenter of the counterculture movement, with a thriving music scene that embraced experimentation and freedom of expression. It was here that Janis found her voice, both literally and figuratively, as she joined forces with Big Brother and the Holding Company, a psychedelic rock band that would catapult her to stardom. Big Brother and the Holding Company were already an established part of the San Francisco music scene when Janis was introduced to them by a mutual friend. The band's unique blend of blues, rock, and experimental sounds was the perfect match for Janis' powerful and emotionally charged vocals. She quickly became their lead singer, bringing a new level of intensity and charisma to their performances. Janis and Big Brother began performing at iconic San Francisco venues like the Avalon Ballroom and the Fillmore West, where they built a loyal following. Audiences were captivated by Janis' raw, uninhibited energy on stage, as well as her ability to pour every ounce of emotion into her performances. Her presence was electric, and she quickly became the focal point of the band. The turning point for Janis Joplin and Big Brother came in June 1967 at the Monterey Pop Festival, one of the most iconic events of the 1960s counterculture movement. Sharing the stage with artists like Jimi Hendrix, The Who, and Ravi Shankar, the festival was a launching pad for many emerging talents. Big Brother and the Holding Company's performance was a standout moment. Janis' rendition of Ball and Chain, a blues classic originally performed by Big Mama Thornton, left the audience in awe. Her emotional delivery, complete with her signature wails and growls, showcased the sheer power of her voice and her ability to connect deeply with the crowd. Critics and music industry insiders took notice, and Janis Joplin was thrust into the national spotlight. The Monterey performance was pivotal not only for the exposure it brought, but also for the way it solidified Janis' reputation as a fearless and authentic artist. It marked the beginning of her journey as a cultural icon and a defining voice of her generation. Following the success at Monterey, Big Brother and the Holding Company signed with Columbia Records and released their second album, Cheap Thrills, in 1968. The album was a commercial and critical triumph, reaching #1 on the Billboard 200 chart and earning a gold certification within weeks of its release. Cheap Thrills featured some of the band's most iconic tracks, including Piece of My Heart and Summertime. Janis' rendition of Piece of My Heart became an anthem of heartbreak and resilience, with her raw vocal delivery capturing the pain and power of the lyrics. The album's blend of blues, rock, and psychedelic influences, combined with Janis' commanding presence, cemented her status as a rising star. The album cover, designed by underground comic artist Robert Crumb, became almost as iconic as the music itself, reflecting the countercultural ethos of the time. Cheap Thrills was more than an album. It was a statement of artistic and cultural rebellion. Despite the success of Cheap Thrills, tensions within Big Brother and the Holding Company began to mount. Critics often dismissed the band as less skilled musicians compared to Janis, who was seen as the group's standout talent. Feeling the need to expand her artistic horizons, Janis decided to leave the band in late 1968 to pursue a solo career. This decision marked a new chapter for Janis Joplin, allowing her to collaborate with a broader range of musicians and fully explore her creative potential. Her solo career would produce some of her most memorable work, showcasing her versatility as an artist and solidifying her legacy as one of the most influential voices in music history. Janis Joplin's rise to fame was meteoric, driven by her extraordinary talent, magnetic stage presence, and ability to channel raw emotion into her performances. From her early days with Big Brother and the Holding Company to her breakout moment at Monterey, she became a symbol of authenticity and rebellion in a rapidly changing cultural landscape. These years laid the foundation for a solo career that would take her artistry to even greater heights. Janis Joplin's career, though tragically brief, was marked by a series of unforgettable musical achievements that defined her as one of the most powerful and authentic voices in rock and blues. From her work with Big Brother and the Holding Company to her groundbreaking solo albums, Joplin's songs captured raw emotion and an unfiltered connection with her audience. One of Janis Joplin's most iconic songs, Piece of My Heart, remains a defining moment in her career. Originally recorded by Irma Franklin, Joplin's version with Big Brother and the Holding Company on the Cheap Thrills album transformed it into a timeless anthem of heartbreak and resilience. Her delivery was equal parts soulful and ferocious, with every note brimming with vulnerability and power. The success of Cheap Thrills cemented Joplin's reputation as a rock powerhouse. Songs like Ball and Chain and Summertime showcase her ability to interpret classic blues and jazz material with a contemporary edge. Her raw, unpolished sound and fearless delivery resonated with the countercultural ethos of the 1960s, making the album a cultural touchstone. After leaving Big Brother and the Holding Company, Joplin embarked on a solo career backed by the Cosmic Blues Band. In 1969, she released her first solo album, I Got Dem Ol' Cosmic Blues Again Mama. This album marked a shift in her musical style, incorporating elements of soul, blues, and horn-driven arrangements. The album's standout tracks, including Try, Just a Little Bit Harder, and Cosmic Blues, revealed a more introspective side of Joplin. Her voice carried a raw, aching quality that reflected her struggles with loneliness and self-doubt. While the album received mixed reviews at the time, it has since been recognized as a bold step in her artistic evolution. Joplin toured extensively with the Cosmic Blues Band, delivering electrifying live performances that cemented her reputation as a dynamic and emotionally charged performer. Her appearance at Woodstock in 1969 was a highlight of the festival, with her set capturing the spirit of the countercultural movement. Janis Joplin's final album, Pearl, released posthumously in 1971, is widely regarded as her masterpiece. Recorded with the Full Tilt Boogie Band, Pearl showcased a refined yet deeply personal sound that balanced her blues roots with a more polished production style. The album featured some of her most celebrated songs, including Me and Bobby McGee. Written by Chris Christopherson and Fred Foster, the song became a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, making Joplin the second artist in history to achieve a posthumous chart-topping single. Her heartfelt delivery brought a sense of longing and freedom to the lyrics, turning the song into an enduring classic. Other highlights from Pearl include Cry Baby, a soulful ballad that demonstrated the full range of Joplin's vocal power, and Mercedes-Benz, a playful a cappella track that showcased her wit and sense of humor. The haunting A Woman Left Lonely revealed her ability to convey deep vulnerability, adding layers to her already multifaceted artistry. What set Janis Joplin apart as an artist was her ability to channel raw emotion into every note she sang. Whether belting out blues standards or interpreting contemporary songs, she brought a visceral intensity that connected with audiences on a deeply personal level. Her voice, described as a blend of grit and soul, remains unmatched in its ability to convey both pain and joy. Joplin's music was a reflection of her own life, unfiltered, bold, and deeply human. Her performances were not just acts of entertainment, but acts of self-expression, allowing her to transcend the confines of traditional genres and create a style that was uniquely her own. A timeless influence. Janis Joplin's musical highlights are more than just a collection of songs. They are a testament to her enduring influence on rock, blues, and female artistry. Her ability to challenge norms and push boundaries set the stage for countless artists who followed in her footsteps. Despite her short career, her music continues to inspire, reminding the world of the transformative power of authenticity and passion. Janis Joplin was more than just a musician. She was a cultural icon whose fearless approach to life and art made her a symbol of the counterculture movement of the 1960s. Her distinctive persona and groundbreaking influence on music, gender norms, and the cultural zeitgeist set her apart as a trailblazer whose impact is still felt today. Joplin's voice was her most defining feature, raw, emotional, and utterly unforgettable. It was her voice that could soar with power one moment and convey vulnerability the next. Influenced by blues legends like Bessie Smith and Big Mama Thornton, Joplin brought a gritty authenticity to her performances that resonated deeply with her audiences. Her stage presence was equally iconic. Joplin's uninhibited energy and emotional intensity made every performance feel like an intimate conversation. She didn't just sing her songs, she lived them, pouring every ounce of herself into her music. Whether belting out a rock anthem or crooning a soulful ballad, she commanded the stage with a charisma that was magnetic and transformative. In an era when the music industry was dominated by male performers, Janis Joplin shattered expectations of what a female artist could be. She rejected the polished, demure image expected of women in the 1960s and instead embraced a bold, unconventional style that reflected her personality. Joplin often performed in loose bohemian clothing adorned with beads, feathers, and scarves, a look that became synonymous with the hippie movement. Her unapologetic confidence and refusal to conform made her a role model for women seeking to break free from societal constraints. More than her appearance, it was her attitude that set her apart. Joplin's openness about her struggles, desires, and ambitions challenged the stereotype of the passive female artist. She was a woman who owned her space, her voice, and her art, paving the way for future generations of female musicians to do the same. Joplin's rise coincided with the height of the counterculture movement, and she became one of its most visible and celebrated figures. Her music and persona embodied the ideals of freedom, rebellion, and individuality that defined the era. She was unafraid to speak her mind, challenge norms, and express herself authentically, a quality that made her a voice for those who felt marginalized or misunderstood. Songs like Piece of My Heart and Cry Baby became anthems of emotional resilience and empowerment, resonating with audiences who were navigating the turbulence of the 1960s. Her raw honesty and vulnerability made her relatable, while her strength and defiance made her aspirational. Joplin's influence on music is immeasurable. She bridged the gap between blues, rock, and soul, creating a sound that was uniquely her own. Her ability to channel raw emotion and connect with her audience inspired countless artists across genres, from rock and pop to alternative and indie music. Her success also proved that women could thrive in genres traditionally dominated by men, such as rock and blues. Artists like Stevie Nicks, Melissa Etheridge, and Bonnie Raitt have cited Joplin as a key influence, and her impact continues to resonate with contemporary performers who see her as a pioneer. Perhaps Joplin's greatest legacy is her authenticity. In a world that often rewards conformity, she remained unapologetically herself, embracing both her strengths and her flaws. Her willingness to be vulnerable and her refusal to compromise her identity made her a symbol of artistic integrity and personal freedom. Beyond music, Joplin's cultural influence is profound. She became a symbol of the shifting societal norms of the 1960s, challenging traditional ideas about gender, race, and individuality. Her legacy as a rebel and innovator continues to inspire not just musicians, but anyone seeking to live authentically. Janis Joplin's persona and influence transcended her music, making her an enduring icon of individuality, strength, and artistic freedom. Her voice, style, and spirit continue to resonate with audiences, reminding the world of the transformative power of living life on one's own terms. Janis Joplin's life, while marked by immense talent and groundbreaking achievements, was also defined by profound personal struggles. Behind her electrifying performances and larger-than-life persona was a woman grappling with insecurities, loneliness, and the pressures of fame. These challenges not only shaped her music but also contributed to the tragic arc of her story. From an early age, Joplin struggled with feelings of inadequacy and a deep need for acceptance. Growing up in the conservative town of Port Arthur, Texas, she was often ridiculed for her appearance and unconventional personality. This rejection left lasting scars, fueling her drive to prove herself and find a sense of belonging. As she rose to fame, these insecurities persisted. Despite her success, Joplin often doubted her own worth and feared being misunderstood. Her desire to be loved and accepted manifested in her music, where she poured her emotions into every performance. Songs like Piece of My Heart and Cry Baby were not just about heartbreak. They were reflections of her own struggles with self-worth and emotional vulnerability. Joplin's rapid ascent to stardom brought with it immense pressure. As one of the few prominent female rock stars of her time, she faced unique challenges, including constant scrutiny of her appearance and behavior. The music industry, dominated by male figures, often placed unrealistic expectations on her, making her feel isolated and misunderstood. The demands of touring, recording, and performing took a physical and emotional toll on Joplin. While she thrived on stage, the long hours, relentless schedule, and lack of privacy left her feeling drained. The pressures of maintaining her image as a countercultural icon only added to her sense of disconnection. One of the most well-documented aspects of Joplin's personal struggles was her battle with substance abuse. Like many artists of her generation, she turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with the stresses of fame and the pain of her insecurities. Her use of substances like heroin and alcohol became increasingly problematic, affecting her health and relationships. Despite several attempts to overcome her addictions, including brief periods of sobriety, Joplin found it difficult to break free from the cycle. Her struggles with substance abuse were deeply tied to her emotional state, serving as both an escape and a form of self-destruction. While Joplin was known for her outgoing and vivacious personality, she often felt profoundly lonely. Her intense need for connection and love made her relationships both passionate and turbulent. She longed for stability and companionship, but struggled to find lasting fulfillment. Her love life was marked by a series of short-lived relationships, both with men and women. These relationships often ended in heartbreak, further fueling her feelings of isolation. Joplin's music frequently reflected her longing for connection, with songs like A Woman Left Lonely offering glimpses into her deeply personal struggles. Despite these challenges, Joplin found solace and purpose in her music. Her ability to channel her pain into her art was one of her greatest strengths, allowing her to connect with audiences on a deeply emotional level. Through her music, she transformed her struggles into something powerful and meaningful, creating a legacy that would outlast her lifetime. Joplin's personal struggles ultimately culminated in her untimely death on October 4, 1970, at the age of 27. She was found in her hotel room in Los Angeles, the victim of a heroin overdose. Her death sent shockwaves through the music world, cutting short a career that had already left an indelible mark on rock and blues. Janis Joplin's struggles were a significant part of her story, shaping the artist and the music that continue to resonate with fans around the world. Her openness about her pain and vulnerability made her relatable, while her resilience and ability to create beauty from hardship solidified her as an enduring icon. Joplin's story is a reminder of the complexities of fame, the toll it can take, and the humanity behind the legend. Janis Joplin's legacy is as profound as her voice, transcending her brief career to leave an indelible mark on music, culture, and the hearts of millions. As a pioneer for women in rock and blues, a symbol of raw authenticity and a voice of the counterculture, Joplin's influence continues to inspire generations of artists and fans alike. Janis Joplin was one of the first female rock stars to command the stage with the same energy and presence as her male counterparts. In an industry dominated by men, she broke barriers with her unapologetic style and unparalleled talent. Her success proved that women could not only compete in rock and blues but also thrive as innovators and trailblazers. Joplin's fearless approach to her art inspired countless female artists to follow in her footsteps. Icons like Stevie Nicks, Melissa Etheridge, and Bonnie Raitt have cited her as a key influence, and her impact can be seen in the work of contemporary artists like Pink and Florence Welch. By challenging gender norms and redefining what it meant to be a woman in rock, Joplin paved the way for future generations of musicians. Joplin's music and persona were a celebration of authenticity. She lived and performed with an intensity that was unfiltered and unpolished, drawing audiences into her world with every note. Her willingness to embrace her flaws and vulnerabilities made her relatable, while her boldness and resilience made her aspirational. Songs like Piece of My Heart and Cry Baby resonate not just because of their musical brilliance, but because of the emotional truth they convey. Joplin's ability to channel her struggles into her art created a deep connection with her audience, making her more than a performer. She was a voice for those who felt unseen or misunderstood. Joplin's unique blend of blues, rock, and soul created a sound that was both timeless and revolutionary. She bridged the gap between genres, bringing the emotional depth of blues into the raw energy of rock. Her influence can be heard in the works of artists across multiple genres, from rock and pop to alternative and indie music. Her style, both musically and aesthetically, became iconic. Joplin's bohemian wardrobe, characterized by colorful scarves, beads, and eclectic outfits, embodied the spirit of the 1960s counterculture. This look, combined with her dynamic stage presence, cemented her status as a symbol of individuality and rebellion. As a leading figure of the 1960s counterculture movement, Joplin became a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and individuality. Her music captured the spirit of the era, addressing themes of love, heartbreak, and the search for meaning in a turbulent world. Festivals like Woodstock and the Monterey Pop Festival immortalized her as a voice of a generation. Joplin's openness about her struggles, including her battles with loneliness and substance abuse, reflected the complexities of the counterculture movement. While she embodied its ideals of freedom and self-expression, her life also highlighted the challenges of living outside societal norms. Janis Joplin's impact has only grown since her untimely death in 1970. Her posthumously released album, Pearl, is considered her masterpiece, featuring some of her most iconic tracks like Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes-Benz. The album's success reaffirmed her enduring talent and influence. Joplin has been honored with numerous accolades, including her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1995. Her life and career have been celebrated in books, documentaries, and biopics, ensuring that her story continues to inspire new audiences. Janis Joplin's music and message remain as relevant today as they were in the 1960s. Her ability to connect with her audience on a deeply emotional level transcends time, making her a timeless figure in music history. She reminds us of the power of authenticity, the beauty of imperfection, and the importance of living life with passion. Janis Joplin's legacy is one of resilience, artistry, and individuality. She was a trailblazer who redefined the possibilities for women in music and a cultural icon who captured the spirit of an era. Her voice, both in song and in spirit, continues to inspire those who dare to be themselves and pursue their dreams no matter the odds. Though her life was tragically short, Joplin's impact is eternal. She remains a beacon of strength and creativity, proving that true artistry comes from the heart and that even in the face of struggles, beauty and brilliance can shine through. Janis Joplin's life came to a heartbreaking and premature end on October 4, 1970, when she was found dead in her hotel room at the Landmark Motor Hotel in Los Angeles. At just 27 years old, Joplin became another member of the infamous 27 Club, a group of influential musicians whose lives were cut short at the same age. Her untimely death marked the end of a meteoric career that had redefined rock and blues, but it also cemented her legacy as an enduring icon. In the days leading up to her death, Joplin was in the middle of recording her final album, Pearl. The project was shaping up to be her most accomplished work, showcasing a more refined and mature sound. She was reportedly in good spirits, excited about the music she was creating and the direction her career was taking. However, Joplin was also battling her long-standing struggles with substance abuse. On the evening of October 3, 1970, she returned to her hotel after a recording session and was believed to have used heroin. Tragically, the dose proved to be lethal, and she passed away alone in her room. The coroner's report listed the cause of death as a heroin overdose compounded by alcohol use. Joplin's death sent shockwaves through the music world. Fans and fellow artists alike mourned the loss of a singular talent whose voice had defined an era. Tributes poured in, with many recognizing not just her contributions to music, but also her role as a cultural trailblazer. Her passing was part of a devastating series of losses for the music industry. Just weeks earlier, Jimi Hendrix, another member of the 27 Club, had died under similar circumstances. Together, their deaths underscore the darker side of the counterculture movement and the toll that fame and substance abuse could take on artists. Despite her tragic end, Joplin's final album, Pearl, was released posthumously in January 1971 and became her most celebrated work. Produced by Paul Rothchild, the album featured some of her most iconic songs, including Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes-Benz. Me and Bobby McGee, written by Chris Christopherson and Fred Foster, became a #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100, making Joplin the second artist in history to achieve a posthumous chart-topping single. The success of Pearl highlighted the immense potential Joplin had yet to realize and left fans wondering what more she could have achieved had she lived. Janis Joplin's death was not just the loss of a gifted musician, it was the loss of a deeply human artist who wore her heart on her sleeve. Her music, characterized by its emotional intensity and authenticity, reflected the struggles and triumphs of her life. While her story ended in tragedy, her legacy is one of resilience, artistry, and individuality. Joplin's passing also sparked broader conversations about the pressures faced by artists and the role of addiction and mental health in the music industry. Her openness about her struggles, both in life and through her music, has since helped destigmatize conversations about these issues. Janis Joplin's death marked the end of a significant chapter in rock and blues history. Her voice, which had been a rallying cry for the counterculture movement, was silenced, leaving a void that has never truly been filled. Yet her influence continues to echo through the music and artists she inspired. Though she died young, Joplin's life and work remain a testament to the transformative power of art and the enduring human spirit. Her story serves as both a cautionary tale and a celebration of the passion and authenticity that made her one of the most extraordinary artists of her time.